Hi guys, welcome to the channel of love and the journey of ascension. We are reading Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone. We are currently on chapter 5 and something more. Learn creative thinking from the creative thinker. Your Creative Power and Applied Imagination by Alex F. Osborne of the advertising firm of Batten, Barton, Durstein and Osborne have inspired hundreds of thousands of persons to engage in creative thinking. What is equally important, these people have been motivated to positive, constructive action. Thinking is not creative unless it is followed through with action. Osborne, like so many creative thinkers, used a notepad and a pencil as favourite working tools. When an idea occurred, he jotted it down. He, like other great men of accomplishment, engaged in thinking, planning and study time. Alex Osborne stated an obvious truth when he said, "Everyone has some creative ability, but most people haven't learned to use it." Osborne's brainstorming methods, explained in his easily read textbook Applied Imagination, are being employed in college classrooms, factories, business offices, churches, clubs, and in the home. Brainstorming, as developed by Osborne, is a very simple method whereby two or more persons use their collective imaginations to come up with ideas that flash from their subconscious to their conscious minds in answer to a question incorporating a specific problem. The ideas are written down just as fast as they strike the minds of the participants. No critical judgment is permitted until after many ideas are written down. Later, the ideas are screened and judged to determine their practicality and value. LaSalle College in Philadelphia and many universities throughout the country teach well-rounded courses in creative thinking, which include the methods used by creative thinkers in many phases of business and industry. It was just such creative thinking that enabled Dr. Elmer Gates to make this world a better place in which to live. Dr. Gates was a great American teacher, philosopher, psychologist, scientist, and inventor. During his lifetime, he developed hundreds of inventions and discoveries in the various arts and sciences. He did his creative thinking by sitting for ideas. Dr. Gates' own life proved that his methods of brain and body building could develop a healthy body and increase the efficiency of the mind. Napoleon Hill recalls how, armed with a letter of introduction from Andrew Carnegie, he went to visit Dr. Gates at his Chevy Chase laboratory. When Napoleon Hill arrived, Dr. Gates' secretary told him, "I'm sorry, but I'm not permitted to disturb Dr. Gates at this time." "How long do you think it will be before I can see him?" Napoleon Hill asked. "I don't know. It might take as long as 3 hours, she responded. "Do you mind telling me why you are unable to disturb him?" She hesitated and then responded, "He is sitting for ideas." Napoleon Hill smiled. "What does that mean, sitting for ideas?" She returned the smile and said, "Maybe we'd better let Dr. Gates explain. I really don't know how long it would take, but you're welcome to wait. If you prefer to come again, I'll see if I can make a definite appointment for you." Mr. Hill decided to wait. It was a valuable decision. What he learned was well worth waiting for. This is how Napoleon Hill tells what happened. When Dr. Gates finally came into the room and his secretary introduced us, I jokingly told him what his secretary had said. After he read the letter of introduction from Andrew Carnegie, he responded pleasantly, "Would you be interested in seeing where I sit for ideas and how I go about it?" He led me to a small, soundproof room. The only furniture in the room consisted of a plain table and a chair. On the table were pads of paper, several pencils, and a push button to turn the lights off and on. In our interview, Dr. Gates explained that when he was unable to obtain an answer to a problem, he went into the room, closed the door, sat down, turned off the lights, and engaged in deep concentration. He applied the success principle of controlled attention, asking his subconscious mind to give him an answer to his specific problem, whatever it might be. On some occasions, ideas didn't seem to come through. At other times, they would immediately flow into his mind, and in some instances, it would take as long as 2 hours before they made an appearance. As soon as ideas began to crystallize, he would turn on the lights and begin to write. Dr. Elmer Gates refined and perfected more than 200 patents which other inventors had undertaken, but which have fallen just short of success. He was able to add the missing ingredients, the something more. His method was to begin by examining the application for the patent and its drawings until he found its weakness, the something more that was lacking. He would bring a copy of the patent application and drawings into the room. While sitting for ideas, he would concentrate on finding the solution to a specific problem. When Napoleon Hill asked Dr. Gates to explain the source of his results while sitting for ideas, he gave the following explanation. The sources of all ideas are: 1. Knowledge stored in the subconscious mind and acquired through individual experience, observation, and education. 2. Knowledge accumulated by others through the same media, which may be communicated by telepathy. 3. The great universal storehouse of infinite intelligence, wherein is stored all knowledge and all facts, and which may be contacted through the subconscious section of the mind. When I sit for ideas, I may tune into one or all of these sources. If other sources of ideas are available, I do not know what they are. Dr. Elmer Gates found the time to concentrate and think in his search for something more. He knew specifically what he was looking for, and he followed through with positive action. In Chapter 7, we will discuss how you can learn to see so that your search for something more will be made easier. In your search, you may fail, but in failing, you may succeed in discovering something even greater. Ask yourself, why? Be observant, think, get into action. The Bible, and both a good comprehensive dictionary and an encyclopedia should, we believe, be in every home. They also can help your search for something more. You don't need to be ashamed to be a failure like Christopher Columbus. Look in your Encyclopedia Britannica and you will find the thrilling, exciting story of Christopher Columbus. He studied astronomy, geometry, and cosmography at the University of Pavia. The book of Marco Polo, Theories of Geographers, Reports and Traditions of Mariners, as well as floating works of art and craftsmanship of non-European origin cast up by the sea, all these stimulated his imagination. Step by step over the years, he came to the firm belief, through inductive reasoning, that the world was a sphere. Having reached this conclusion, he was convinced through deductive reasoning that the Asiatic continent could be reached by sailing westward from Spain just as well as Marco Polo had reached it by travelling east. He developed a burning desire to prove his theory. He sought the necessary financial backing, ships, and men to explore the unknown and find something more. He got into action. He kept his mind on his objective. Over a period of 10 years, he was often on the verge of receiving the necessary help. But the deception of a king, the ridicule, suspicion, and fear of subordinate government officials, the disbelief of those who wanted to help him, but who at the last moment refused because of the scepticism of their scientific advisors, all brought defeat after defeat. He kept trying. In 1492, he received the help for which he had so persistently searched and prayed. In August of that year, he sailed westward for India, China, and Japan. He was on the right course and headed in the right direction. You know the story. After he landed on the islands in the Caribbean, he returned to Spain with gold, cotton, parrots, curious arms, mysterious plants, unknown birds and beasts, and several natives. He thought he had achieved his objective and had reached the islands of India. He had failed. He had not reached Asia. But, without being aware of it immediately, Columbus had found something more, quite a bit more. You, like Christopher Columbus, may fail to reach your high, major objectives or your magnificent obsessions. You, like him, may fail in your efforts to reach a distant destination in the realm of the unknown. But you may discover something more, something equaling the wealth of the Americas. You, like him, may inspire and direct those who follow you to head in the right direction, on the right course, and to continue further into the unknown until they achieve the worthwhile objectives you conceived. You, like Columbus, have the time and the power to think. You, like him, can persistently strive with a positive mental attitude to achieve your definite major aims to find something more. You don't need to be ashamed to be a failure like Christopher Columbus. And something more? How can you apply it? By now, you should be in a position to extract principles from specific illustrations so that you can relate, assimilate, and use them. We agree with Admiral H.G. Rickover in the fundamental truths of his statement. Among the young engineers we interview, we find few who have received thorough training in engineering fundamentals or principles, but most have absorbed qualities of facts much easier to learn than principles, but of little use without application of principles. Once a principle has been acquired, it becomes a part of one and is never lost. It can be applied to novel problems and does not become obsolete, as do all facts in a changing society. Learn the principles, apply them. If you're not making satisfactory progress towards achieving your aims, look for the something more. It may be known or unknown, but you'll find it if you take the necessary time to study, think, plan, and search for it. Now, this chapter would not be complete without reference to cosmic habit force. Use cosmic habit force is one of the 17 success principles, and the concept of cosmic habit force is easy to understand, for it is a name that we have given to applied power of any natural or universal principle or law, known or unknown. Cosmic habit force can be simply defined as the use of universal laws, whether it is known or unknown to you. As an example, it's easy to understand that when an object falls to the ground, the law of gravity is being applied, and therefore, if you want an object to fall from a given height, you use cosmic habit force, and in this particular instance, the law of gravity. By the law of gravity, or any other law, is not in itself a power. Yet when you properly use the principle, then power is employed according to universal law. And thus, the breaking of the atom, every invention, every chemical formula, every psychic phenomenon, every individual action and reaction, be it physical, mental, or spiritual, is the result of the use of natural law. For every result, there is a cause, and the result is brought about through the use of cosmic habit force. Again, man is a mind with a body, and he can think. It is through thinking that he learns how to use cosmic habit force, and his thinking can bring the thoughts he thinks into reality. This concept is not difficult to comprehend, for in 1900, Albert Einstein gave to the world his now famous formula, E equals mc squared. This formula explains the relationship between energy and matter. When matter approaches the speed of light, we call it energy, and as the velocity slows down to zero, it remains matter. in the formula, E is energy, M is mass or matter, and C represents the velocity of light. And thus, we see that Einstein's formula is a word symbol of one of the laws of cosmic habit force. And by understanding and applying this formula, man has been able to turn matter into energy and energy into matter, and to use atomic power for constructive purposes such as to light an entire city, to power ships, or even for such everyday affairs as to develop heat for cooking. And something more. We can now see that because matter and energy are the same thing, everything in the universe is related. Now, you've got a problem? That's good. And you'll learn in the next chapter how to adapt many of the lessons learned in this chapter to your own life. And then you will be able successfully to meet the problems created by the universal law of change, which, like all natural law, is the result of cosmic habit force. Pilot number 5, thoughts to steer by. Number 1, and something more. What does the important principle contained in this chapter mean to you, and how can you apply it? Number 2, if you have failed in an endeavour, could it be because you lack something more, a missing number for a correct winning combination for success? Number 3, the whole is equal to the sum of all the parts and is greater than any of its parts. Are any missing parts keeping you from success? Number 4, the little difference between success and failure is often something more. Hip hip hooray, a movable wing flap, a quarter turn of a screw. Number 5, are you in partnership with your silent senior partner? Number 6, use the simplest but most important of instruments ever invented, paper and pencil, to write down flashes of inspiration when they occur. Number 7, how does the technique of brainstorming differ from that of sitting for ideas? What is the value of each? Number 8, use the success principle of controlled attention. Number 9, don't be afraid to be a failure like Christopher Columbus. Number 10, have you established the habit of learning fundamental principles, or do you merely absorb quantities of facts? Number 11, do you understand and can you apply in your own experience the fundamental truths and principles of Admiral H.G. Rickover's statement? Among the young engineers we interview, we find few who have received thorough training in engineering fundamentals or principles, but most have absorbed quantities of facts, much easier to learn than principles, but of little use without application of principles. Once a principle has been acquired, it becomes a part of one and is never lost. It can be applied to novel problems, and does not become obsolete, as do all facts in a changing society. You don't need to be ashamed to be a failure like Christopher Columbus. That is the end of chapter 5. Okay. We are now moving on to part 2. Until then, take care, much love. Bye for now.